Thank you very much.
Wait, what was that? What was that last bit? Liberty and what? Look, I'm poking fun, but I feel that may have been a little Freudian, to be perfectly honest with you. Justice was the next word. How ironic. How ironic. Justice. Justice was the next word. That was Rep. Miliatakis out of New York, a Republican out of New York. And I think somewhere deep in her subconscious, she messed that up on purpose. Somewhere deep in her subconscious, she knows the injustice that is happening right now all over our country, and she just couldn't get it out. Well, thanks for trying. Thanks for trying, Miliatakis. Appreciate you. Yeah. Welcome back. Brett Breaks Things. You know the deal. We're going to keep talking about this DC thing because we're getting a lot of reaction about it. We're going to keep talking about that. And we're going to talk about the BLS pick because that has been announced. But first, we're going to talk about something that I think you care about. I think you're going to care about this. And it is, unfortunately, it follows the themes that we've been following lately, which is a little bit of authoritarianism sprinkled over here, a little bit of authoritarianism sprinkled over there, right? I'm getting more and more comfortable using that word as more and more Trump policies come out. More and more Trump decision-making is made clear to us, the direction this country is going in, okay? I'm getting more and more comfortable saying that. And this new story, I mean, it's right in line with these other themes. It's right in line with militarizing police force in cities. It's right in line with suspending habeas corpus, throwing detainees on planes and shipping them out of the country. Okay? It's right in line with these things. Lying to us over and over again. Telling us numbers can't be trusted unless they come from me. Right? Authoritarianism just sprinkled all over the place. And yet another little smattering is about to take place. Trump had a closed-door meeting with Putin in 2017 during his first administration. It was just Trump, Putin, and two translators. And I would love to know what happened in that meeting. I would love to know what was said then in that closed-door meeting. And I have a feeling it was something like, hey, Trump, I don't understand why you deal with media and you deal with political opponents. Just shut them down, right? Do what you want. It's a dictatorship, baby. It's great. Bring the military in, bash heads, tanks, the whole deal. Do what you want. Come back and talk to me when you've got your government looking a little bit more like mine. You know, he had in his first administration, he had a meeting with Kim over in North Korea. What did he say to him? Hey, Don. And by the way, I can do a Russian accent, and that doesn't offend anybody. But if I try a Asian accent, the show will be over. I'd love to unpack that. We're not going to disseminate that right now. Needless to say, I won't be doing an Asian accent. But what did Kim say? Like, listen, Trump, you don't have to tell him anything. Tell him what you want. Do what you want with the money. Do what you want with the economy. Tell them whatever you want to tell them. If they starve a little, they starve a little. Like, yeah, take away all these assistances. What are you doing spending all this money on SNAP and Medicaid? What are you doing? You don't have to do all that. In an authoritarian government, you can just do what you want, baby. Orban, same thing. Met with Orban. What did Orban tell him? You know, because he has been influenced by the worst actors globally, clearly. And now he's right in that theme going after our history.
Today, the White House sent a letter to the head of the Smithsonian, one of the great museums of the world, which is actually 21 museums in all. In the letter, they made it clear to Smithsonian Secretary Lonnie Bunch III, writing that it wants what it wants and why from 8 of their museums initially, with more to come. Quoting now from the administration's letter, quote, "This initiative aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions." It comes as part of what has been the administration's ongoing effort to purge government websites and American historical sites of references to Black Americans, gay and lesbian Americans, and transgendered Americans. At one point, even flagging for removal on a Pentagon website a photo of the B-29 bomber that dropped the first atomic bomb in combat. The plane was nicknamed the Enola Gay. A somewhat ironic Control-F fail, apparently, but also part and parcel of a deeply serious administration effort to eliminate from government websites any mention, photograph, or video that, quote, promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion.
And there it is. And there it is. They're going after the Smithsonian. They're going after the Smithsonian, partly because they can. They're going after our history. They're going after our history. Period. Just a little background on the Smithsonian. It was established by an act of Congress in 1846 for trust instrumentality of the United States at the bequest of British scientist James Smithson. Okay, it is a public-private partnership. Ownership is effectively held by the U.S. in a trust, but governed by a board of regents, which includes Chief Justice, Vice President, members of Congress, and a citizen regents appointed by law. Okay, and the board of regents, the citizens, they hold administrative and supervisory authority, but there is federal funding that goes into the Smithsonian, and that's the rub. Okay, it's supposed to act independently, autonomously, with exhibits, curation, administration, things like that. But political pressure and oversight from the executive office, executive branch, can and is now influencing direction of the Smithsonian. And how much funding comes federally? That's the problem. Like, why do they have to listen to this guy? Why do they have to take his advice or his direction in any way? Well, because 62% of its funding is federal. There it is. He'll just pull the funding, right? We'll establish a Trump's Golden Museum Palace Emporium or something. If the Smithsonian doesn't play ball, they can pull all that funding. It's worth approximately $2.4 billion. The Smithsonian is. The other 38%, by the way, comes from trust fund endowments, private donations, philanthropic giving, things like that. And it is now squarely in Trump's crosshairs. Right in Trump's crosshairs. Right along this authoritarian philosophy that he has been running the country by. This was just one more step laid out in Project 2025. And why do I bring that up? Oh, I'll get to that. Why do I bring up Project 2025? Now, there will be a review of exhibits, online content, curatorial processes, grants, all aiming to eliminate divisive narratives. Divisive narratives. I'm going to use the quotations a few times here, okay? And the White House is seeking extensive documentation from the Smithsonian within 30 days. They want it reviewed by 2026. They want to get the ball rolling immediately on rewriting our history. And this is to ensure President Trump's, quote, interpretation of American history. Trump's interpretation of American history. Well, we can certainly trust Trump's interpretation on anything, right? But especially American history. We can trust that. He's the guy that remembered, what was the name of the demonstration where Heather Heyer got hit by the car. He remembered that as very fine people on both sides. He remembered ensuring nobody will touch Medicare and Medicaid. He remembered that as cut $1 billion from Medicaid, eliminate SNAP, right? He remembered his promise to the American people, Trump's, we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. His interpretation, what really happened? No wall. No Mexico paid for it. Time and time again, his interpretation gets lost. It is skewed. It is wrong. And of course, he was a great student, right? So we can trust his opinion on American history and the events that unfolded, right? His interpretation will be trusted there. Trump's interpretation of American history. So there was a letter sent to one Lonnie Bunch. He is the director of the Smithsonian, the secretary of the Smithsonian Institution, from 3 top White House officials, okay? And they said they want to present unity, progress, and enduring values that define the American story. That's what they said. That doesn't sound too bad, right? Unity, progress, enduring values that define the American story. Sounds like what the Smithsonian was doing. And then it continues, calling for restoring truth and sanity to American history. There it is. There it is. Because you radical left teachers that are teaching the truth about our history, you're insane. You're insane. If you're not teaching Trump's interpretation of American history, you're insane. And MAGA shouldn't trust you. So we're going to restore the truth and the sanity to American history. The letter went on. This initiative aims to ensure alignment, and this, by the way, this is Wall Street Journal reporting, Meredith McGraw. The initiative aims to ensure alignment with the president's directive to celebrate an American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions. I was already pretty confident with the Smithsonian. I hadn't lost confidence personally. I haven't talked to anybody who's out here talking about, man, I used to love the Smithsonian, but I don't trust it anymore. I'm not confident in the history it's producing. DEI, baby. Yep. DEI. Here's the thing. Here's why I mentioned 2025. This letter was signed by White House Senior Associate Lindsey Halligan, okay. The Director of Domestic Policy Council, Vince Haley, all right. And the Director of Office and Management and Budget, Russ Vought. There it is. Mr. I want to tie up the courts and put our legal system in a state of shock so Trump can do whatever he wants to do. Remember that little meeting that got recorded without him knowing it? We want to wage war on our legal system, put our legal system in shock so you can't keep up with the violations of the Constitution in rapid order that Trump is about to present the American people. That Russ Vought. Mr. One of the key authors to Project 2025. That Russ Vought. There it is. There it is. Every time we turn around, it's Project 2025. We just got done highlighting the merger, the Skydance merger, and the head of the FCC doing a little quid pro quo with Paramount, Brendan Carr, the guy who wrote the chapter on the FCC in Project 2025. We just did this. We're going to keep doing this. They keep popping up. This is the effect. This is the Project 2025 that Donald Trump knew nothing about. Don't even know it. Haven't read it. Yet my entire administration is based upon what it says. So, some people are on board. Some people are on board with this little takeover. The Smithsonian Board of Regents agreed to conduct a thorough review of all of its museum and zoo content to eliminate political influence and bias. Some people aren't on board. Sarah Wixel, executive director of the American Historical Association, said the White House's effort was an affront to the historians and curators trained to ensure historical accuracy. She went on, if those things are taken out of the hands of historians, the public stands to lose a great deal in having reliable and engaging content that tells a whole and complex story of the American past. So as usual, some people see this for what it is, and some people are going to roll over. Are there still more of us than them? I'm just asking. Are there?
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things, because democracy doesn't defend itself.
All right. Sorry about the camera shot. Camera went right out of focus as we began broadcasting, and I tried to in real time get it right, but it looks like it's right now, and I do apologize. I saw some of you guys in the comments. We saw you. We see you. We're here for it. We see you. So there it is. Project 2025, right? There it is. Yet another cog in that machine. Yet another tangible effect Project 2025 is having on our country. We talked about it. Randy talked about it. People tried to bring it to people's attention. Some people were screaming from the rooftops. AOC, among others, it was all they were talking about for a while. They couldn't understand why the American people all of the American people weren't offended by this Project 2025. And they all had underestimated the zealous nature of MAGA. They underestimated it. They thought for sure this is going to be the one that breaks through the fog, breaks into the echo chamber, stops it for a second where they pay attention. Who knew it was going to be the Epstein files? Who knew? It's not the substantive, tangible switch from democracy to authoritarianism. That's not what woke them up. It was the Epstein files. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get at least a chunk of these people to understand how badly they are being played, their accounts being sucked dry, how they sound, what they believe, how bad they're being played. If it takes Epstein, fine, it takes Epstein. We're not doing Epstein today. We didn't do it yesterday. We're not doing it today. We got other things to talk about. Now, Hegseth. Of course, Hegseth. He is out here ready to wage the culture war in any way possible. He's out here to wage the culture war. Do his part. Do his part for authoritarianism. I'm already completely tired of hearing from this dude, but here we go. I got to bring it to you. We wade through it so you don't have to. Just the stuff you got to hear. Just the stuff you got to hear. We're trying to keep you from being lied to as much as we can, right? And all we can do is fact check those lies. Call it out. But here's some of the culture war raging right here. This guy.
The Reconciliation Monument. It has been returned to Arlington National Cemetery following its removal in 2023. This is a Confederate monument. Many suggest it was designed and put in place to symbolize the reconciliation after the Civil War. It was taken away, as I mentioned, several years ago. Why was it important for you to bring that back to Arlington National Cemetery?
Because we recognize our history. We don't erase it, Will. We don't follow the woke lemmings off the cliff that want to tear down statues. We look at and learn from our history, all aspects of it. And so Arlington deserves to have, and we're grateful to the state of Virginia for partnering with us. It wasn't easy. We fought to make it happen. And the Reconciliation Monument will return to Arlington where it belongs to recognize the service of Americans of all chapters. So we're not tearing stuff down. We're done with that. We're putting statues back. We're putting paintings back. We're recognizing our history. We're restoring the names of bases as we've done across the country because we're proud of our history. As difficult as it may have been in some chapters, we're going to teach it, we're going to live it, and we're going to fight for it.
Okay, you heard me mention at the top of the show, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. All right, Pete. All right, you want to play this game? Let's play this game. You said a lot there, Mr. Hegseth, including calling anybody who is offended by Confederate-era monuments woke lemmings is what we all are. Woke lemmings. Okay, little name caller. Our Secretary of Defense. First of all, you're doing this. You're re-erecting a Confederate-era monument, and he mentioned soldiers. No. We'll get to that in a second. You're re-erecting this monument that was torn down for great reason, while you're threatening, your administration, your dear leaders threatening to tear down exhibits, history exhibits, monuments to our history in the Smithsonian because you don't like the narrative there. You love the Confederate era South narrative. You don't love the truth about our past narrative. You're doing this at the exact same time. You have to be immune to hypocrisy to have a position like that in Trump's administration. You have to be immune. You have to be able to lie and spin without remorse, and you have to be absolutely immune to that type of hypocrisy. Okay. You said we're going to honor our soldiers who sacrificed on either side. This monument was a Confederate monument erected in 1914. It was the creation of sculptor Confederate veteran Moses Ezekiel, and it depicted a classical female figure crowned with olive leaves, representing the American South. Alongside of this female's figure are sanitized depictions of slavery, romanticized, sanitized, softened, made more palatable because they're proud of it. And they don't want you offended, shocked offended, where we can't put this up if it's got actual depictions of slavery. But we can do some sanitized honoring of that great time in America's South. So it's a woman's figure adorned with sanitized images of slavery that you want to put up. And you claim you're doing it to honor soldiers. Soldiers aren't involved in this statue, liar. And what was that little bit you said at the end? We want to learn it. We want to live it. You want to live it. There's the quiet part out loud. There's the quiet part out loud right there. You want to live it. Van Lathan, in a roundtable, he had a couple really good things to say about this, and I appreciated his take on this.
Out of a post-Reconstruction time where the Confederate battle flag is adopted, where the Ku Klux Klan arises and comes to power, all for one reason. And these monuments and these people are romanticized, all for one reason, to control and terrorize black people.
That's right.
So moving away from those monuments, from celebrating those people, is actually a strong sign of actual reconciliation, that we don't want black people to live in fear of racial terror and slavery anymore. And to repower those things and those images is saying, it's to me, saying the opposite of that. Our eyes are wide open in terms of what America means for us. And if the president and his administration want to cozy up to the worst parts of American history, we see them. Point blank, period.
But they should be asked why they're okay with it.
We see you. We see you. You see, I like what he said there. The tearing down of this statue is a recognition of the inherent wrongness of what it represented. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. People in a position of power, people in a position to make these types of decisions, what gets contracted to be made, what statues are made and where they're put, those people, at least that level of people, they understand the inherent wrongness. Our community understands the inherent wrongness, not looking for it, don't want it. And that is a recognition of it. And that's a good thing. And it's supposed to deter us from repeating the mistakes, recognizing the wrongness of that era, teaching it in the proper place, like a classroom, being taught by somebody who knows what they're talking about, nonpartisan, right? I got to say that in terms of our teachers now, which is crazy. But yeah, that's where you teach it. You don't live it. That's the point. You don't go back and live it. And he's absolutely correct when he says putting it back sends a very clear message. Even if you want to argue, hey, they're not trying to say we're going to restart slavery. Okay, great. I understand that. They're not saying that slavery is going to take place once again here in America. No, they're not saying that. But at least what they're saying is, hey, black people, we don't care about how you feel about this. Once again, trigger the libs. Bleep your feelings, liberals. Bleep your feelings, minorities. We don't care how this makes you feel. We want our statue back. And Pete has us out here raging that culture war. Of course he is. Of course he is. By the way, the restoration of this statue is going to cost us $10 million over 2 years. $10 million. Let me do some quick math here. I'm just going to do some quick math. I'm going to help out. I'm going to help out Congress. If you don't take the jet and spend $1 billion on that jet, right? And you don't spend the $50 million on your birthday parade. You don't spend $10 million over 2 years on this restoration. You don't spend the $20 million to move historical NASA models. Remember the rocket it's going to cost like $20 million to move this rocket from one air base to another. Don't do that. $200 million for the ballroom. Okay? The extra $500 million you just gave to CPB and ICE to do their business, not necessary. Take all that back, and guess what? We can have our Medicaid back. We can have SNAP back. Don't have to cut it. Great. We just saved you like $2 billion. So give us all of our stuff back, please. Just don't do this. 10 million for this statue. 10 million. When the whole point of the big beautiful bill was to cut government spending. Remember Doge, government efficiency, and all they did was cut the tax rate for corporations and billionaires. That's all they did. And then they cut stuff that we needed to pay for it. You could have cut all this crap out. Could have cut all that crap out. Not necessary. Stalin used to scrub history. He rewrote the 1938 edition of History of the Communist Party and the Soviet Union. He rewrote it to denigrate Lenin's allies like Trotsky and others, and painted them as spies and dissidents, and boosted his role in the revolution. Kim Il-sung did it. Rewrote their history completely to add historical depictions of his greatness and inflate his role in their country's revolution. Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan. The list goes on, of dictators seizing our history, rewriting it, and teaching a whole new generation all the wrong things. Scrubbing the stuff that might hurt Trump's feelings. Doomed to repeat it.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Now back to Brett Breaks Things, smashing spin, silencing the noise, and keeping it all facts. No fluff.
Now, we're going to move on to DC a little bit. And we didn't pull a video of it, no point. But I saw demonstrations starting to form over Trump's federalization of DC. And I can only hope if you are out in DC and you are protesting or demonstrating that you do it peacefully. Please do it peacefully. Because the alternative is very, very ugly. It's already extremely ugly, what we're seeing in the streets of DC. And I'm going to bring you the ugliness, okay? Caroline Leavitt is really, I want to say that she's bad at her job. But is that the truth? It's not, right? It's not the truth. She's good at her job. She shuts down the left woke media mob. She gives a platform to mouthpieces of this administration. She toes the party line. She lies the lies. She spins the spin. I doubt that we've seen anybody more completely locked in to Trumpism than her. She was the right pick. She was the right pick for Trump. And she had some stuff to say about the DC takeover. Can I call it that? Nah, that's too hyperbolic, right? We won't go quite there yet. But the federalization, the National Guard presence that is soon to sweep through the cities. Yeah, Caroline Leavitt, she's got her take, of course.
Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump. That is our motto here at the White House. The America First economic agenda is working.
Oh, it's working. Ignore the panicans. Panicans. I had never heard that term before. I know there's some in the audience that right now they're like, I've heard it somewhere. It's panicking Americans. What is it again?
It's panicking. Here, don't be a panicking, Brett. I feel like I've heard that word before, like in my childhood somewhere. Like I looked it up. It's not a Yiddish word. I wasn't sure if maybe that's where I was. Well, no, because my bubba used to say things to me, and that sounds like something that she may have said to me, and I was like, oh, maybe it's not Yiddish, so it's not that. I don't know where I've heard it before, but when she said it, I'm like, it made sense to me, but I guess it's a created word.
Panicking.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I hadn't heard it. Scotty said he heard it. I'd never heard it. So we're panicans. What's the big deal?
Is this going to become our deplorables?
Ooh.
Like, you know how like they own the deplorable? Like, oh, we're a bunch of deplorables. Yeah, we're deplorable. Are we? Hey, man, we're just a bunch of panicans. You know, it's what we do.
We have to take it back immediately.
We
right?
have to own that.
We have to own it immediately. I like that. You know what killed deplorables was Hillary Clinton saying it. Possibly the most uncool presidential candidate in American history. As soon as Hillary said it, they took it, ran with it. Nobody got offended. Everybody was cringe. Everybody's just cringing. But okay, so we'll own it, Scott. We'll start it. We're going to own panicking. We're panicans. Fine. Whatever, Carolyn. She continues.
As part of the president's massive law enforcement surge, last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning.
This is only the beginning. Are you scared yet, Fox News viewers? Did that list of crimes scare you? She just listed off a bunch of crimes. Are you scared yet? Are you complicit yet? I know many of you are in the Fox News audience. We got to get you all on board. This is absolutely necessary. And here's the thing. I don't even have a problem. Like if you're out here saying we are going to eliminate crime in D.C. All right, that's not generally how humanity has worked. Okay? It's not generally how people work. But if that's your goal, that is a noble goal. I love it. All right, Hammurabi, you and your code of laws, you get out here and you eliminate crime. You go ahead and try. And I don't even have a problem generally with a bigger police force. I personally feel that a lot of major cities are probably under-policed, if anything. I know they have hiring problems in certain major cities. More police is not even my pushback. You want more officers on the street? More officers? You know, Metropolitan Police? You got the money for it? You got the candidates that are qualified for it? Then get them out there. Let's get more crimes reported, seen, more people detained that commit crimes. Let's do it. It's when you bring the military into it. I don't think that's being a panickin, saying, what is the military doing involved here? I don't think I'm being a panickin. So, what does this additional manpower on the streets look like? Well, let's take a look.
How y'all doing today? Y'all staying in that trouble? You got your ID on you, chick?
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette. Did y'all get a call or something right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like Code 3 or anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together for 7 days and going out. I'm familiar with trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right?
Now, I know what the right's going to say about a video like that. Look, they're just doing community outreach. What's the problem? He's just having a nice conversation. No, I'm going to tell you how I interpreted it. And I'm guessing some of you in my audience interpreted that the same way. Keep it moving, bro. Why are you stopping and forcing these two dudes who are sitting on their porch into a conversation with you while you're armed with weapons? What gives you the right to force a convo with those guys? Stop and even ask them a question at all. Why? I mean, this isn't stop and frisk. This is a whole nother level. This is stop and harass and condescend. It's a whole nother level.
I was just about to say the condescending tone of that, Brett. If you watched the full video, and it was over 2 minutes long, where he's like, and now make sure you spread the word with all your boys. Make sure your boys know, bro, you're not the one to be saying boys like that. Like,
I mean, what? Who is this dude? Is he part of Trump's PR team? Like, who are you to stop and give a PSA to these guys and then warn their boys?
And then they said they're smoking marijuana. Like, he's like, I got a cigarette.
And I got a Black and Mild, I heard, which I can relate to. But yeah, I mean, no, I feel like a lot of you interpreted that the way I did. Keep it moving. How dare you? How dare you? Your presence there is already threatening enough. Two dudes literally sitting on their property, and you force this PSA on them. It is so damn condescending, and it feels like a violation of something. I don't know. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but it feels like a violation of something. I don't know. That felt all wrong to me. It felt all wrong to me. You know what else feels wrong to me? Look, I feel like we're on the same page with that last video. Let's see if we're on the same page with this video.
Well, Kate, this is your first really confirmed and significant visual of the National Guard deployment and the increased federal law enforcement presence in the city of Washington. This is a series of 5 armored personnel carriers that have lined up here basically at the foot of the Washington Monument. The monument is about a block over my shoulder. You might be able to see it there. These guys are lined up here now. As far as where they're going tonight, whether they're going to patrol this area around the mall and the monuments or go to other neighborhoods, they are not saying. They're referring us to their public information people. We've tried to reach out to them, and they've not gotten back to us. So the specific mission of these armored personnel carriers, not clear tonight. Now, what we have been told, though, guys, is that the overall mission of the National Guard will be logistics, it will be administrative, but they will have the authority to briefly detain people if it comes to that. If they're in a given situation where it requires them actually detaining people, while they won't necessarily have the power of arrest, they will be able to detain people at least briefly, temporarily, in any given situation that might call for it. Also, we can tell you as far as the deployment of their weapons is concerned, they are not actually carrying guns on their person, rifles or anything like that on their person, but they will have them at the ready in their vehicles if need be.
Okay, so we did report yesterday, we talked about yesterday, they will have the guns with them, but not on them while they're out in the streets. But, okay, so that detail aside, what did that look like to you? 5 APCs lined up in plain view right there at the base of the Washington Monument. How ironic is it that they lined those APCs up next to the Washington Monument, the guy who won the war and then handed control of the Continental Army over to Congress. Yours now. Just like that. The shining example of democracy, the antithesis of authoritarianism, George Washington handed over control of the Continental Army as soon as the war was over, handed it over. And now you've got Trump's personal army showing up to Washington, and they park 5 APCs right there at the base of the Washington Monument. If I thought Trump was a more intelligent human being, I would say that is a very cleverly disguised but clear message to the American people. I'm not George Washington. I'm Donald Trump. George hands over power. I seize it by any means necessary. But again, I don't think he's that clever. I don't think he has that kind of foresight. I just don't think he's that intelligent. Maybe somebody around him is playing games that is that intelligent and wants to send that message. Who knows? But the irony of that image. And honestly, I was reminded of East Berlin. When I was a kid growing up in the 80s, and I saw movies like Gotcha and some other movies that were based in East Berlin, that's what it looked like. Armed, peacekeepers roaming around in groups, surveying everything, ready to crack a skull or detain somebody or drag them away, armored vehicles lining the streets, complete lockdown of the people of East Berlin. That is what it reminded me of. That's what immediately the thought that came. This doesn't look like America. That looks like East Berlin. I'm curious. Did you find it as offensive, as offensively ironic as I did? I mean, here we are. You want to see the SS patrolling? You want to see East Berlin? Tell me I'm wrong. Watch this dude that steps out. He's like, what in the hell? I thought I lived in America.
Where did they reveal what?
Yep. DEA in lockstep with the MPD in large numbers, fully armed, just roaming the streets. They didn't look too busy. They didn't look like they were dealing with the war zone that is being depicted, that Jeanine Pirro's talking about, that Trump's talking about, that for some reason Skeletor Rick Scott's out here talking about. What? It didn't look like the war zone they had led us to believe. It didn't look like the emergency that would justify federal troops being present in that city. Didn't look like it at all to me. Looked like Trump sending his private army to send a message, not just to the citizens of Washington, D.C., but the citizens of any large city, any metropolitan area in a blue state. You're next. Look what we can do. Look what we're getting away with. Who's next?
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things, where the stakes are high and the truth still matters.
All right, we're just going to put a bow on this particular topic. Carolyn Levitt's out here, as I said, giving a forum to sycophants. She'll share the podium with certain people, right? Like Benny Johnson. Yeah, the Epstein Files Benny Johnson, the right-wing influencer who is absolutely obsessed with the Epstein Files. He comes up here to share the podium with Miss Levitt here. And, of course, he talks about the Epstein Files, right? Because that's all he, is authorized to talk about because he doesn't know much about anything else. And he is part of the press pool, but he'll share the spotlight, right? She'll give him the spotlight. She'll give him a little forum. Let's hear from Benny Johnson. He's definitely going to talk about Epstein because that's what he knows about, right?
Started, and as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a D.C. resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked.
Who are you,
I had
Batman?
murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20. And my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that D.C. is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city.
I've seen the worst this city has to offer. I've seen muggings, carjackings. I've been stabbed, shot at, raped. My house set on fire. The Joker tried to steal my baby. I am Batman. Here's Benny Johnson. He's out here witnessing every major crime that has ever taken place in D.C., apparently.
I mean, first off, if he has all that stuff on his webcam and he hasn't shared it on the internet yet, what's he doing?
What is he doing?
But I just try to do a lot of the research and help you with the research and the deep dives on the show. So I did an extreme deep dive trying to find out if there was any mention of this anywhere. He does a podcast, we do a podcast. So I was trying to, and I just can't find any public. I mean, I didn't listen to every single hour of his show, but you'd figure somebody of his stature, if he made a comment about this on his show at some point of his career, it would have made some sort of headline.
Okay.
Especially the arson.
Yeah.
Murders.
Yeah. That's a great point, Scott, because I got news for you. If somebody set my house on fire with my baby inside, I promise you I'd come in here the next day and tell you about it. If I witnessed a shooting, a mugging, a carjacking, if I was carjacked, a raping, whatever he was doing, I'd be like, yo, I saw the wildest ish last night. I saw a carjacking right in front of me.
And also, he must have the best webcam if he could see a lady being mugged for $20.
Yeah, no.
Oh, wait, she just handed him a 20. Like, really?
No, he's got bat cams. Yeah, he's got bat cams. My high-tech bat technology caught a $20 mugging. I'm the podcaster this city deserves. All right. Benny Johnson. Okay, Benny Johnson. You've witnessed every single major crime that's ever taken place in D.C. Gotcha. The Philly DA, the district attorney for Philly, this guy Krasner, he had some interesting things to say. I want to play this real quick before we move on and finish up the show.
So let's not get lost in his silly argument, his silly distraction from the fact that he doesn't want to give up information on his own involvement in a pedophile ring. Did we all forget about that? Let's not get away from that. And let's not get into his silly arguments. This country may have its lowest year of crime on record this year. At the same time, this man is claiming a public safety emergency. Donald Trump is the public safety emergency. It's him. And we all need to stand up to that or we are going to lose our country.
Bang, bang. Dude's coming out firing shots. He's talking about, this is just a distraction from Trump's pedo ring. Whoa. Okay. I don't know if I'm prepared to go that far, but yeah, I'm here for it. Let's have that discussion. Wow. He's talking about Donald Trump as the emergency. Okay. Now you're talking my language, Mr. Krasner. Now you're talking my language. Holy crap. Dude's coming out hot. Straight to sixth gear. He had more to say.
They may say, yes, that is what, they're looking at the homicide rate falling to its lowest in 2 decades after it peaked in 2022. But they might look at numbers saying, well, in the last year, Philadelphia has not been able to bring down instances of rape. There's been a 24% rise in thefts, aggravated assaults with guns that are ticking up, and auto thefts. What would you say if there's a resident in Philadelphia who says, I'd like to see that changed and maybe I like what the president is doing? What would you say to them?
Well, first of all, I'd say you might want to include the whole slide because out of the 18 categories, 15 are down. What you showed was 3 that are up, but 15 are down.
Yeah, because you mentioned the ones that are
down. Well, the reality is we're massively down. We're going to set a record, and it's not 2 decades. It's 5 decades. We've never seen anything like this in Philadelphia. So there is no emergency here except Donald Trump, okay? You're not a 34-time felon, Caitlin. I'm not a 34-time felon. The person directing this claiming he's in favor of public safety is a 34-time felon. And if he went to court for his other crimes, we'd be looking at more felonies than that. Let's not kid ourselves. He doesn't like public safety. He likes public disorder that gives him an excuse to roll tanks. That's what he wants. That's what dictators want.
All right, and I'm going to play... Look, Krasner and I are seeing eye to eye. This is dictator stuff, okay? Trump's the emergency. I'm right here for it, Mr. District Attorney. I'm right here for it. I do want to finish up with Jessica Tarloff, one of the few bastions of sanity on Fox News. I want to give her say because they don't give her a giant platform over there. They don't give sanity a giant platform over there, but they gave Jessica Tarloff a few minutes. So let's hear from her.
A lot with the city council
If Donald Trump started trying to take charge of Republican-run cities, and they exist, go to Oklahoma City, right, and talk to them about the violence there. He never says anything about that. He doesn't talk about murder rampages in red states. He's only targeting blue states. And the fact that he ignores the statistics, and Kash Patel snuck in there, right, with the decline in the murder rate. And we have the video of Donald Trump from just back in May touting the 25% decrease in crime there. The stats don't align with the action.
Here's the problem. Well, here's the problem, though. And Tommy, I want to get you in here. The numbers are what they are, and there's all this discrepancy about whether or not they reflect reality. But the problem is that people definitely don't feel safe.
Yeah. So Tarloff got her little say in there. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. He's not talking about, and I said that yesterday, she must be listening to the show, right? She must be listening to the show. Because that was the first thing that hit my ear was you aren't mentioning any red metropolitan areas that have problems similar to D.C. You're just not mentioning them. You're not going to mention them. You're not going to call out, DeSantis for crime rates in Jacksonville. You're not going to call out Abbott for crime rates in Houston. You're not going to do that. are you? You're not going to call out Tom Cotton, who had a bunch to say about D.C.'s crime rate, but refuses to say anything about Little Rock, Arkansas. You're not going to mention those places. Jessica sees it for what it is. Jonah Geese had a couple things to say as well.
Congressman, the president has said that D.C. has been, quote, overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals, roving mobs of wild youth, drugged out maniacs, and homeless people. Is that the D.C., the Washington that you know?
No. And first and foremost, thank you, Antonia, for having me on. Look, this has nothing to do with public safety. It has nothing to do with crime, and you articulated that well. And the last person that the American people will be lectured by regarding public safety or crime is Donald Trump. This is the same person whom, on his very first day in office, pardoned violent felons who attacked police officers and endangered our republic on January 6th. So make no mistake, this has nothing to do with public safety. It is all about politics and ultimately, in my view, a very dangerous and blatant power grab by this president, who has previously expressed admiration for a variety of different authoritarian leaders across the country, and has, I think, made no bones about the fact that he'd like to have a domestic police force. And unfortunately, unlike his first term, he's now surrounded by these sycophants, very reckless individuals, deeply unqualified individuals.
Sycophants, sycophants like this.
That's who we are, and that's what we're going to do.
And what about those officers who feel like the people who injured them are
Look,
not
I'm not here to satisfy people's feelings if they feel bad. I'm here to prosecute crime.
That reporter asked Ms. Pirro, what about officers who injure people? What's too far? Look, I'm not here for your feelings. People get hurt, they get hurt. Okay, Janine. Okay. I do want to get more Pirro sound because she is turning out... Maybe, yesterday I said they got the right races for the job. She's having a hard time with these press conferences. She's having a hard time with the media. And in my opinion, she might be having a hard time staying sober. There's some interesting sounders for her. I am going to get to the new BLS pick, by the way, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There's a new nominee. I can't wait to jump into that. I didn't get there today. I will get there either tomorrow or Friday. Wait to hear from this guy.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.